Hello everyone, welcome to New Gen Politics. Happy World Rhino Day. And no, we're not talking about that kind of rhino. I thought today I'd make a more lighthearted video in which I'll discuss the current state of rhino populations, international conservation efforts, and how we can help to ensure the future of this species. We've got a lot to get through, so let's get started with some good news. Currently, there are 5 living species of rhino. 2 in Africa, the southern white rhino and black rhino, and 3 in Asia, the greater horned rhino, Sumatran rhino, and Javan rhino. And here's some really good news. The African Rhino Specialist Group, the AFRSG, shows that global rhino numbers are up, having increased by approximately 27,000 by the end of 2022. The positive trend is primarily due to rises in the number of black and white rhinos in Africa. From 2021 to 2022, southern white rhinos increased in population from 15,942 to 16,803, and black rhinos increased from 6,195 to 6,487, both seeing around a 5% rise in population. Greater one-horned rhinos saw negligible change, with the population staying around 4,000. However, numbers of the 2 most threatened species, the Javan and Sumatran rhinos, are dangerously low, with fewer than 80 individuals remaining in each species. Officially, reports estimate that there are less than 80 Sumatran rhinos, though there are potentially as few as 34 to 47 individuals remaining. The total Javan rhino population is estimated to be 76 animals. All remaining Javan rhinos are found in Ujung Kulon National Park in Indonesia. And so let's dial in on this most vulnerable species of rhino. The Javan rhino can weigh as much as 5,000 pounds. These beasts maintain their rotund figures on a mostly vegetarian diet. Their single horn functions as a multi-tool. This allows the animals to scrape mud, forage for food, and create trails in the forest underbrush. By consuming over 100 pounds of twigs, leaves, shoots, and fruits daily, they are the jungle's built-in gardeners, pruning some plants to make room for others to grow. And so this just shows how much rhinos need their horn, how valuable it is, and obviously we know this is a very targeted part of the animal. This is why poachers go after these amazing creatures, is to get their horn to sell it for Eastern medicinal medicine purposes. So it's really sad when we have to see conservation officers cut off the horns of rhinos in order to protect them from being killed. You can see how much it would affect their daily lives and how much it would affect the environment they take part in. They're important to their ecosystem, and the challenges they face reflect the challenges that the whole ecosystem faces, especially in their absence. Some challenges the species face are a high risk of inbreeding and low genetic diversity based on how low the numbers are, and the fact that they don't reside in several different locations. We know genetically your DNA can be modified to a certain extent based on your environment and environmental factors you face. And so all being located in one region dramatically reduces the amount of biodiversity they have, even within the capabilities of their built-in genetic code. There's also other concerns over housing the entire remaining population in just one location, those being what happens if there's a single catastrophe, such as a tsunami or disease outbreak. Tsunamis are very common in Indonesia. One of these major events could spell swift extinction for the remaining Javan rhinos. Also, their limited space may simply be too small to support any more rhinos, preventing population growth. Additionally, their habitat is under constant pressure from human activities, including illegal firewood harvesting and encroachment, which further reduce the rhino's limited living space. And finally, naturally, the threat of poaching. But there is some good news. Because they like to keep to themselves, conservationists and park rangers use motion-activated cameras to monitor the population. Since the introduction of these cameras in 2011, the number of Javan rhinos has more than doubled to 72, according to the Indonesian government. So technology can be incorporated to help preserve and increase the amount of Javan rhinos and actually all rhino species as a whole, which is good news. It means funding can actually go a long ways in these efforts to help protect and increase the populations of endangered species, not just rhinos. And so most of this information comes from rhinos in the wild or basically in captivity, but what you would imagine as safaris, very open ranges that they have. But then there's also the other side of rhino conservation, which is zoos. So why are zoos important? Well, here's a clip from a zookeeper in Australia explaining the importance of zoos for helping to preserve and increase rhino populations. But there's also more than just that. Take a listen.
What are we celebrating today?
Yeah, so Friday the 22nd of September every year is World Rhino Day. So here at the zoo we are celebrating our beautiful white rhinos behind us. We have Ubuntu and Eco, and they are raising awareness and funds for rhinos all over the world. There are 5 species of rhinos, and they're all very vulnerable to extinction due to humans mostly. So we're using these guys as fantastic ambassadors, and these 2 boys were born in New Zealand. They aren't related, and they are part of the regional breeding program. So what that means is at some point in their lifespan, they could be called upon in other zoos to breed elsewhere. But these guys are 13 years old, which means they're just over being teenagers now. So they're mature bulls, and they could be used for breeding somewhere along the line. But it's really important that when they're not breeding, that we are using them as ambassadors for their cousins out in the wild.
So as I can figure, there's three main purposes for why zoos are important to helping rhinos and also other species. So first, the international breeding program. This increases their genetic diversity and also can ensure that there's a healthy population of rhinos that are being bred and maintained. Second, there's the security to prevent against a single species ending event. So if there was a disease or tsunami in one area or some horrific event happened at one zoo, there's rhinos in other locations that will ensure the future of their species. And finally, something I think is very important, something I think a lot of people never think about, is I think one of the main reasons we have zoos. It's so that people can see and fall in love with these animals. When you go to a zoo and you get to see for the first time an animal like a rhino, it's a unique experience. It's much different than seeing it on a screen or seeing pictures. And it's similar to the difference between falling in love with someone over the phone or in person. Obviously, in person is going to be better. So zoos give us the opportunity to see and interact with these animals and grow a deeper appreciation for them, especially children. Does anybody remember going to a zoo as a child and seeing all these animals that you read in picture books, getting to interact with them, building a level of rapport and desire to see them more? And how can that desire be fulfilled? Well, by helping maintain their populations, protecting them from human threats and environmental threats. That's one of the most important reasons we have zoos. And so this is an area that we could actually focus our effort on internationally. This is something the UN could help with. Instead of focusing on banning hair dryers or whatever flavor of the week electronic it is, instead of focusing on nonsensical issues, or instead of using money for ridiculous reasons, this is something we could all unite as a world. I know they're not here, they're not in America, but it's still something that we should care about. Getting to see animals like this help give you appreciation for the world, for God's creation. It helps deepen the mystery of the human experience. And like I said earlier in this video, certain technologies can be used to help drastically, even shown to be doubling some of the populations. Maybe we could make a more united effort to focus on that, to focus on conserving these amazing animals for future generations. Now that you've heard what I think, please let me know what you think down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.